Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Millbrae City Council meeting of April 28th, 2026. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Fung, Councilmember Nguyen, Councilmember Riley,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rinaldi,
Present.
Mayor Holliber,
Present.
quorum with three in person.
Okay. Will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, we have no ceremonial or proclamations or presentations today. So we will move on to agenda item number 2, which is the agenda overview and staff briefing. And we have our city manager, Tom Williams, to give the update.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you, members of the City Council. Tom Williams, City Manager. So I just wanted to bring to the council's attention yesterday, April 20th, I guess it was last Monday, marked the 28th year since the passing of David J. Cicutti. That was yesterday. On last Friday, through our Bureau Chief, Andy Huey, and Sheriff Bender, we conducted a ceremony, and I'd like to thank them and recognize them for their work in remembering Officer Cicutti and the ceremony that was held. And like I said, it marked 28 years since the passing of Officer David J. Cicutti. So a small ceremony was held in partnership with the Millbrae Police Bureau and Sheriff's Office. Our community recognized Mr. Cicutti, and things like this make our community stronger and safer, and his memory will never be forgotten. So wanted to recognize the great work again of our Bureau Chief, Andy Huey, for pulling that together. Also Saturday, on April 25th, we celebrated Earth and Arbor Day with a really successful tree planting. We had a great turnout, over 75 participants, planted 30 crepe myrtle trees in that area where the school district moved the very dangerous eucalyptus trees on the corner of Ludeman Lane and Laurel Avenue. So 30 crepe myrtles were planted in place of those eucalyptus trees. And just so everybody knows, crepe myrtles are drought tolerant. They can grow in limited soil space, and that area is small and compact and sloped. It also attracts pollinators and birds. So nice species to replace those trees. And if you go by that intersection, you'll see that when they mature, it'll be a very nice addition. So I'd like to thank all the participants, all of the community members and volunteers that showed up, also our Parks Division, our Environmental Service Division, our Stormwater Division, and to the council members that showed up. So thank you very much for that.
And City Manager, I believe we had 2 trees that snapped in half when they were being planted. So staff ran out and got a couple of replacement trees.
We did, yeah. And as you know, Mayor, we do a lot of things live, so we have to sometimes just do impromptu stuff. But again, it was a great event, and thank you. And I think your son really enjoyed himself as well. Upcoming events. So Saturday, May 9th, it's going to be a busy day for us here in the city of Millbrae. So starting at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., we have our annual Millbrae Art Show. This is hosted by our Cultural Arts Advisory Committee, and this is to celebrate Millbrae's local talent. So there's not only paintings of local artists, but also handmade gifts that are available. And it's a great opportunity for people to come and see the talents of Millbrae and help support our arts. Also on Saturday, May 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. is a mulch giveaway. This is located where it usually is, off the spur trail at Millbrae Avenue between Palm Avenue and Elder Avenue. And so people can bring their shovels and containers and pick up free mulch. So again, that's a free mulch giveaway, May 9th, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Also in collaboration with our sister city, La Serena, Chile, there'll be a showing of a Chilean film known as The Evergreen Abundance. And this is co-hosted by our Sister Cities Commission. It will be Thursday, May 14th at 6:30 p.m. At the Recreation Center. The film is a documentary that showcases the deep connection between people and the edible forests in Chile. And it highlights the sustainability efforts that protect the environments in that area. So this showing is free and open to the public, and I believe the documentary runs about 90 minutes. Also, we opened our summer camp registration, Millbrae Adventure Summer Camp registration. Summer camp will be held at Taylor Middle School and the Recreation Center starting June 8th through July 31st. Summer camp is available to children that are ages 6 to 11. And registration prior to July 1st is early bird pricing, and prices will increase after July 1st. So if you're interested, please register early to get that savings. Also, as the City Council knows, we are continuing to improve the city by removing dangerous trees. A lot of eucalyptus trees that have matured, obviously, over the last 100, 120 years that have really become dangerous, and so we're working to remove that. And another such project is on Lomita. Wanted to bring to everybody's attention that we will be having partial road closures on Lomita. Work includes, like I mentioned, the removal of the hazardous trees, regrading of the slope that's there, if you're familiar with it, and we will have notices that will be provided to the residential community in the surrounding area. On our website, you can get information. We also have a QR code on our website and our flyers that people can scan to be notified of the daily events and road closures and some of the hazards as a result of the tree removal in that project. Also, people can sign up for the Caltrans notification for the work, the significant work that's been done by Caltrans on Burlingame Avenue. Impacts, obviously, the city of Millbrae to the northern portion of that project up to El Camino Real. And so, again, people can, on our website and a QR code, download that and be up to date in real time of road closures and detours as that project continues to move forward. This is a 3-year plus project, and so people can stay informed as to what the road closures are on the detours. I already know that some people in Millbrae and throughout the area have had some concern about the detours and the traffic. So this is a great way to get the information and stay notified. And then lastly, just wanted to give the city council and the community a heads up. And more to come on this because I will agendize this item in the future. But yesterday, SFPUC voted to raise water rates by 7% in effective July 1st of 2026, and also a 7% increase in 2027. So that's a 14% increase over 2 years. That's going to impact our rates because we purchase wholesale water exclusively from SFPUC. So just a heads up, just found out about this when SFPUC voted on it yesterday, but we will agendize this and more to come and inform the public as to the impact that it may have on our water rates here. So, Mr. Mayor, that concludes a brief update of what's happening in Millbrae.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We will now move on to item number 3, which is the approval of minutes, and we have 2 items here. The closed session meeting minutes of April 14th, 2026, and the regular meeting minutes of April 14th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve? Or any corrections or comments? Okay. Okay. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Rinaldi, a second from Councilmember Riley. Can we have your votes, please?
Item number 3 passes by a vote of 3.
Okay. We will now move on to item 4, oral report from city committee and commission chairs. And this is adoption of a resolution to amend the Youth Advisory Committee rules, duties, goals, and purpose to allow members to hold part-time office or employment with the city. And do we have a representative from the Youth Commission here?
Ms. Mayor, we do not, and our Human Resources Manager, Lucy Fung, is out ill, so I am going to just cover this item.
Okay.
And we also have Hannah Moran here that is front and center on what we're trying to do and accomplish with the adoption of this resolution. So just to bring to your attention, if you go to the next slide, the Youth Advisory Committee provides a forum that addresses youth issues and connects youth with government. We do have a significant amount of volunteers throughout our school system, not only just at Mills High School and Taylor Middle School, but we have had some Youth Advisory Committee members that attend other schools, private schools or other high schools within the area. Our current policy states that committee members cannot hold any paid office or employment with the city. So this resolution simply amends that policy that would allow Youth Advisory Committee members that volunteer their time, and as we have openings for our summer camps and coaching and refereeing, it allows them to be eligible to be hired and compete for those positions. So that's in a nutshell what this item is. This is for part-time employment, paid or unpaid, but it allows our Youth Advisory Committee members to be eligible to compete for positions. Hannah and I, other department heads, we've reviewed this and we think that this is very fair, and actually think the existing policy unnecessarily penalizes volunteers for their hard work to make a commitment to the city. And so it's as simple as that, and that's what the resolution is. So be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any comments or questions from the council? Vice Mayor Rinaldi?
Thanks, Mayor Oliver. Just a quick comment. I think it's fantastic to get the youth involved, also help them build up their resumes. So as they move out into the world, they have all the advantages and expertise to help them land those positions. So, I think it's a great idea, and I hate to think that because someone was participating already, it would bar them from any kind of part-time employment here. So, that's it.
Yes, Vice Mayor, or Councilmember Riley?
I think it's a good idea because have those high school students have meaningful summer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I know there's obviously concerns about conflict of interest, and I think that's why it's, there's currently a prohibition on employment of people who are appointed committee or commission members. In this case, I think since it's really an advisory committee, since these are part-time positions, and I think it gives an opportunity for the youth to gain work experience, I think it makes sense to allow this and to not be prohibited from employment while serving on that committee.
Yeah, Ms. Mayor, on that point, and that's a very good point, and this will be in line with all of our applicable conflicts of interest and will be reviewed by human resources and the department heads, so.
Okay. And just to follow up on that, is there any I don't know, protocols for recusal or anything like that if something comes up about a program that an employee or a committee member is employed in that role?
Yeah, another great question. There will be a process if there's any conflicts of interest that the employee would have to recuse themselves.
Okay.
So all that is covered.
Right, it would be the same process as if we had a conflict of interest before a board or the city council. So if there were a conflict of interest, then they would recuse themselves from participating in the decision as a board, as a committee member.
Okay, so but let's just make sure that we're doing that education and that they're aware of the rules, and also the staff that staffs the meetings is aware of it as well. Okay, all right, do we have a motion to approve? Be a team effort tonight, so. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Riley, a second from Vice Mayor Rinaldi. Can we have your votes, please?
Item number 4 passes by a vote of 3.
Okay. Moving on, we will now go to public communication. This is the opportunity for any members of the public to speak on any item that is not on this evening's agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and they must speak within a topic that's within the purview of the city of Millbrae. We'll begin with in-person speakers. If you're on Zoom, please use the raised hand feature and we will get to you as well. If you'd like to speak, please fill out a speaker slip and hand it to the clerk, please. Okay, the first speaker is Marian Kong.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Marian Kong, a Millbrae resident. I'm here to recognize the importance of Millbrae Chinese residents and the broader Asian community to our city cultural, social fabric, and economic vitality. Our community often keeps a low profile, but we deeply value our tradition and chance to share them with our neighbors. Over the past 7 years, Mid-Autumn Festival and Lunar New Year celebration have helped Millbrae hold a special place in the greater Bay Area, bringing people together across cultural while also generating real economic activity. During these events, residents and visitors support local restaurants, shops, services, and creating meaningful revenue and job right here in Millbrae. Many Chinese families have also contributed for generation by supporting our school, volunteering, and strengthening neighborhood ties. I ask the council to keep investing in event partnership, small business support, and have language access so more residents can participate fully in the civic life. We deserve to be treated equally, heard, respected, and protected because we belong here. When we welcome and support the Chinese community, we strengthen the Millbrae for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kong. Seeing no other, sorry? Okay, yeah, seeing no other in-person speaker slips, we'll move to online to Zoom, and the next speaker will be Deirdre Gladwin.
Deirdre, could you state your name for the record and we can give you your time?
Looks like she's muted. Did you unmute her?
Deirdre, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I don't know how I came up. I did not raise my hand. I have no comment at this time.
Thank you for that. Next will be Gina iPhone.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Gina Pappen. I served 16 years on the Millbrae City Council and have voted in support of all of our cultural events for 16 years, particularly the Lunar New Year and the Mid-Autumn Festival. Recently, I was appointed to be the president of the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, which runs the farmers market and has run the farmers market for 30 years on Saturdays between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Vendors and the community depend on the farmers market at the current location, and the community benefits as a whole from the farmers market. We have also operated during various events. The cultural festivals are important and are the farmers market. Right now, there's a 3-hour overlap between the cultural festival coming up, the Mid-Autumn Festival, which starts at 10, and the farmers market ends at 1. Both events can coexist and share part of our city and bring people together, which is so important. The chamber has a contract for the area where the farmers market is. They should not be forced to move. They should be allowed to continue even during festivals. Again, there's only a 3-hour overlap. We hope that everyone can come together, both for the farmers market and our cultural festivals. Regrettably, certain member of the Mid-Autumn Festival has recently taken to social media attacking the chamber, its members, and members of the city council. This is not good. Millbrae is stronger together. We can work together, and we are always better together. So we do hope that everything comes together during the one Saturday that overlaps with the Mid-Autumn Festival for the 3 hours. And thereafter, the festival committee can have access to the area where the farmers market occurs after 1 p.m. on Saturday. And they go till, I believe, in the evening till 7 p.m. on Saturday and 5 p.m. on Sunday. So again, I hope we can all come together here. We cannot move the farmers market because the people know where it is, when it is, and everyone can benefit from the farmers market, even the festival goers. Thank you so much. And again, Millbrae is always stronger together. We are very proud of our cultural diversity and hope this will continue into the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Okay, seeing no other speakers, either in person or on Zoom, public comment is closed. We will now move to the consent calendar, which is 3 items. Item 5, receive and file monthly general fund financial report for the period ending March 31st, 2026. Item 6, resolution to accept a $35,000 national grant from National Fitness Campaign to implement an outdoor fitness court contingent upon confirmation of its utilization as a bid alternate for Mills Estate Park. And item 7, adoption of resolution to accept a $35,000 national grant from the National Fitness Campaign to implement an outdoor fitness court at Monterey Park. Would anybody like to pull any items from the consent calendar? Oh, Vice Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes, I'd like to pull item number 6 and 7, the national grants for the National Fitness Campaign for both Monterey Park and Mills Estate Park, if we could.
Okay. All right, then I guess we can vote on item 5. If I'll make a motion for item 5, if anyone would like to second. Okay, can we vote, please?
Item number 5 passes by 3-0.
Okay, and I think since 6 and 7 are related, I think we can take them together if you'd like to comment, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Oliver. I wanted to pull both these items aside because we had quite an extensive process with Mills Estate Park. And during the last meeting that we had, which was February 10th, we had left an action item open, a particular area of the park that was closer to Sebastian towards the frontage for an area, if we wanted to pursue this, which is the workout center, which is similar to the one that's over on the spur trail by Millbrae Avenue. Going back to our October discussions of last year regarding the Mills Estate Park, we had a lot of questions around making things aesthetically pleasing, keeping it simplified, having more of a natural feel. And, you know, this item in particular, there were comments by other council members. I think it might even be you, Mayor Oliver, who had said we already have one of these facilities down by Millbrae Avenue. Maybe perhaps Green Hills Park or another location like Meadows Park would be more appropriate for this. So I felt, you know, pulling this aside so we could have a conversation around it rather than putting it through on consent calendar. So for me personally, I'm of the opinion that I don't think this is the appropriate item or the right place for this workout facility. But I'm opening up to council to get your guys' feedback.
Thank you for that comment. Yeah, you know, we did review Mills Estate Park, I think, back in the fall, and then again in February or March when the design came back to us. I haven't gone back and looked at the meeting video or anything like that, but according to this staff report, it said that we had left it as a potential bid alternate, which was not exactly my recognition, but how I recall. but it's possible that it may have been left open like that. So maybe, I don't know if our city manager or someone from the Parks Department could discuss what the process would be going forward on this.
Yes, so when we brought the park plan to the city council, and we've evolved this over probably years' worth of community engagement, the site plan for the park and the activities within the park did include the National Fitness Court, very similar, exactly the same, that's on Millbrae Avenue, just to the west of the skate park. So there is an area, if you recall, on the site plan, there's a large grass turf area with a 360-degree walking path. And there was an element that we had originally proposed for ping pong tables and more active recreation. Feedback from the surrounding neighbors, the immediate neighbors, were that they didn't want any noise emanating from the park, or at least the amount of noise as possible. So we eliminated that. And then the direction and the approval of the site plan was to allocate and have graded this area, that if we are successful with revenue augmentation to purchase the fitness court, then it would be installed there. So in terms of the council's approval, it was, as you mentioned, Mayor, an add alternate if funding was available. If the council is desirous of eliminating that, it's certainly within your purview to eliminate this element of the park, and we won't pursue it.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I'll look at the city. Probably what we'll need to do is, with your direction tonight, if you deny this, then bring back an amendment to the park plan that amends this element out of it.
And just to clarify, this is not acceptance of a project at either of those parks. It's just about acceptance of the funding. So the council still has discretion down the road to decide which park to allocate this element to. This just keeps the door open to potential funding.
So for clarification purposes, this is just to apply for the grant to get funding?
We've received the funding. So this is an accept, so $35,000 for Mills Estates, and then a separate $35,000 for the design along the linear park at Monterey Street.
And can you give us the cost of the actual facility? Because I believe it was in the report.
Yeah, I think all in and rounding up, it's about $300,000.
So we'd get a $35,000 grant to apply to the $300,000.
Correct.
Okay.
It says 328 would be the city's requirement.
So that includes the grading, the foundation, all of that.
Got it. So I think I know where I land on this. I don't know about the rest of the council, but I'd be in favor of not doing this at Mills Estate Park.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to remove this, could that be done during would the bids have to come back to the council for approval of the construction contract?
Yeah, so what we'll do is if you don't accept this grant this evening, then we'll bring back a very easy amendment to the site plan that excludes this element from the approved project, and then we would go out to bid on it. The construction drawings are not done yet, so there's plenty of time. This doesn't hold up the critical path or the timeline at all.
Yeah, I think given the direction from the council to reduce costs, I think it probably makes sense to remove this if it's another, 300,000 expense. And also we wouldn't want it just to be a, concrete, if the fitness court isn't built, we wouldn't want a concrete slab, sitting there empty. So I think that's where I would lean as well.
Yeah, Mayor,
maybe
part of
focus
the
on other locations.
Part of the discussion was to grade the area, the padded area, and if we did not pursue the fitness court, it's an ideal location for park bench and a passive area and the views out over the bay, so.
Councilmember Riley?
Yes. So just want to clarify, this item just accept the grant, right? Then we hired a grant writer to get this grant, right?
No, we did not. We did this internally.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
One more last quick question from this end. Let's say we keep this in on Monterey Linear Park and perhaps so we already got the grant, so that's already done. So then if we decide not to move forward on Monterey Linear Park for some reason later on down the road,
That's okay as well. We will be bringing the design of the Monterey Linear Park, the dog park, and the amenities back to the city council for approval. So at that time, if you decide not to pursue it, that's okay.
yeah, I just want to make sure we're not on the hook. I want to make sure we get feedback from the residents before, final designs of anything,
Yeah.
before we incorporate something into it.
I know Monterey Park, that from the neighborhood, they're very desirous of having this facility along that portion of Monterey Street and the linear park, so the dog park as well as the fitness court.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But again, that will be brought back to the city council for final approval.
So, yeah, so I mean, perhaps we could take a motion to approve item 7 and to reject item 6. And then-
I would recommend taking a motion on each separately, just to
Okay.
make the record clear.
Okay. So a motion to reject item 6. Okay, let's have a vote.
Motion passes by 3-0.
Okay. And then motion to approve item 7. Okay, all right, do it again. Okay.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, everyone. And we will now move to item 8, existing business. This is adoption of a resolution approving a revised maximum garbage rate schedule in accordance with the franchise agreements with South San Francisco Scavenger Company. And we have with us Senior Environmental Programs Manager, Andrea Papajohn.
Thank you, Mayor, Council members. Andrea Papajohn, I'm with the City of Millbrae. So tonight, I would like to recommend a resolution approving a new maximum garbage rate schedule. By way of background, in 2009, the council approved a franchise agreement with South San Francisco Scavenger for an 8-year term. It was extended and lasted until 2025. And then in October 2024, the City Council approved an amendment to the franchise agreement for an annually renewable contract for a 15-year term. And the franchise agreement in section 8.2 requires that rates are reviewed and adjusted accordingly each year, with the new rates becoming effective on July 1st. So the franchise agreement establishes a 3-year cycle for rate adjustments. The first 2 years of the cycle is based on the maximum allowable garbage rates of 80% of any changes to the consumer price index. And then the 3rd year of the cycle, any changes are based on a rate survey of a pre-selected group of cities. So fiscal year 26-27 represents the 2nd year in the rate cycle per the agreement. And so we have, the 26-27 allows for an adjustment based on CPI, resulting in a 1.4% increase. Next slide, please. So here is a slide just showing how the rates would be affected based on a 1.4% increase. And so you can see with the residential 32-gallon cart, it's a 66-cent increase per month. And the commercial 32-gallon cart is a 61-cent increase to $43.94. The commercial 2 cubic yards is a $5.93 increase to $429.46. A 14-yard temporary debris box for 7 days, $11.12 increase to $805.58. And then the compactor service per yard increase is monthly, the monthly increase $1.23 for a total of 88 plus dollars, $88.97. Next slide, please. So just when we negotiated the contract in late 2024, we received some new services from Scavenger. And so here's just a summary of some of the new services they've provided, some metrics. So as of Q1 of 2026, we received one multifamily on-call cleanup appointment was completed, which is great for our multifamily businesses. They now get on-call cleanups like our single-family homes. For the no-charge residential drop-off, it was utilized by 22 residents. There's some data that 9 e-waste items, 6 fluorescent lamps, et cetera, were collected. And 4 30-yard cleanup boxes were provided at the request of our code enforcement officer. And Scavenger delivered 44 cubic yards of compost to the spur trail for a free giveaway for our residents. Next slide, please. So the fiscal impact as designated by the franchise agreement, will increase the city's fee revenues approximately. These are estimates. So the franchise fee is at 10% of gross receipts. So you can see the numbers there. The total estimated annual revenue with a rate increase would be $879,213. And then the recyclable material revenue, which is 5% of Scavenger Company's sale of the collected recyclables. So all the materials they collect from our residents and businesses that are recyclables are sold, and we receive 5% of those sales, which is approximately $33,335. And then the source reduction and recycling element, SSRE for short, that is 5% of gross receipts. So the total for that estimated is to be $466,248. Slide, please. So staff recommends the council adopt the resolution approving the revised maximum garbage rate schedule as required by the franchise agreement with the Scavenger Company. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thought I'd press the button. Thank you for that presentation, and I see the representatives here from the Scavenger Company as well, if anyone has any questions. Name from the council? Yes, Councilmember Riley.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, so you mentioned for big item pickup, which is cleanup, for a single family home, we have twice a year.
Correct.
And you mentioned it's also applied to multifamily. The condo on the air camera rail, like next to the La Quinta Inn or front of La Quinta Inn, is including the 2 condos?
It has 2 condos in it?
Yeah, the bigger building, they're also inside this condo. It's not
Yes.
apartment. It's also including the residents in the condo, in the building, right?
Right. It depends on the number. And so if you said there are 2, are there 2 units total or more?
No, there's more.
Yep.
It's 2 building, big building. They have like more than 100 units.
Right. So for that size, for the condos, we have not, we don't have an exact free pickup for that size of a multifamily or condos, but we could talk to Scavenger and look at how much it would they would charge for that service.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so happy to reach out to them. If you would like to send the name to our city clerk, I'd be happy to reach out to them and see if they'd be interested in a fee for the on-call cleanup service.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll now go to public comment. If anyone would like to speak, please fill out a speaker slip. We do have one speaker online, Ann Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. My hand was actually raised for the 2 consent items. I've got about a minute for that and a minute for solid waste. Would you mind if I handled them both?
Sure, and I'm sorry for missing you on the consent items.
Not a problem, Mayor. On the exercise facilities, I was at Millbrae's bingo night Friday and had a lot of people asking me questions. And thankfully, our recreation director was there, and she told me that the one thing that I don't like about the exercise facility on Millbrae Avenue is the back wall that looks like advertising. And Miss Moran said that it is possible to get a mural or a more artwork kind of piece. So I fully support the decision on Monterey Park, but we might want to consider, instead of all that advertising on it, maybe doing that option that Recreation Director Moran mentioned on that. So that's my comment on that. I wish you guys luck on that. Okay. In terms of solid waste, I really appreciated the slide that showed the franchise fee, the revenue sharing for the recyclables, and the SSRE or the AB 939 fee. But I wonder, because a lot of scavenging happens of the most expensive recyclables, at least on my block, and I know many people in Millbrae don't put their recyclables out because they've been scavenged so badly. They don't put it out until the morning of, if their lifestyle allows them to do that. I wonder if Ms. Papa John could explain how much we're losing to scavenging, and to make the public understand that it's not that we're being hard on the scavengers, but it is a direct revenue stream for the city. Thank you.
Would you like me to address that? Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Schneider, for your comment.
Sorry, we do have one other hand up. Luis Velasquez, is this regarding the Scavengers franchise agreement? Luis Velasquez? Please unmute yourself. Yes. Luis Velasquez, last call. Okay, public comment is now closed. Ms. Papajohn, if you'd like to respond to that question.
Sure, I would be happy to. So thank you, Ms. Schneider, for your comment. And yes, we do recognize that there is theft of recyclables when they get taken to the curb. So what happens when the bins are taken to the curb, they then become the property of the scavenger company, as stated in the agreement. And it's very hard to quantify that amount of how much the city and scavenger would be losing. There are some options that we can do to try to help enforce. We could, if there are particular streets, we could perhaps heighten our enforcement in those areas. And also residents, I believe, can reach out to scavenger and get locks on their containers. And perhaps they could do it for a short term, lock them, and then the scavenger company can unlock them in the morning. I believe there is a small fee for that, but that could deter any taking of those recyclables. And I think, since our scavenger representatives are here in the audience, thank you, Michael Formosa and David Button. If either of them would like to add any comments to that, they can. If you'd like to come up. Great, thank you. Our CEO. David Button, thank you.
Hi. Mayor Halliburton, Council.
Sorry, can you speak into the microphone?
Sorry,
please?
David Button, South San Francisco Scavengers. Thank you for having us here today. Yeah, we understand that recycling theft is a concern. However, it is really hard to quantify, and the effect of the lost dollars. It's also hard to address the people doing it, right? We don't want to affect people of less means or anything else as well. So we do remind residents that you can go to the website. It directs you how to report it to the city, to Public Works, and just do your best and tell people try not to, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are there any other questions?
Okay. Yep, no other questions from the council? Okay. Seeing none, we can entertain a motion to approve. Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Riley, a second from Vice Mayor Rinaldi. Your votes, please.
Motion passes by 3-0.
Fix that? Okay, all right, there it is. Okay, thank you very much for that. We will now move to item number 9. This is to receive an update from Peninsula Clean Energy, also known as PCE, and adopt a resolution approving an administrative amendment to the Joint Powers Agreement to reflect the name change to WestLight Energy. We have with us Director of Government Affairs from PCE and also former Mayor of Millbrae, Mark Hirschman.
Thank you, Mayor Holliber, Vice Mayor Rinaldi, Councilmember Riley, city staff, community. Delighted to be here this evening to share with you an update on activities at Peninsula Clean Energy in Millbrae and a little bit more broadly. And we have an item on your agenda. Respectfully request your votes this evening. Go to the next slide, please. A little bit of level setting. Just a little bit of level setting for what we do and how we do it. Peninsula Clean Energy is the generation procurer of energy for about 97% of residents in San Mateo County. We also represent Los Banos in Merced County and the unincorporated communities. The energy still comes to you on the PG&E wires and poles, comes into your home, and then it's a consolidated bill for those of you receiving Peninsula Clean Energy electric generation. There's a separate line on your bill that replaces the amounts that PG&E would have charged had they been your procurer of energy. We could go to the next slide, please. Our value proposition is lower cost, and we have historically been lower in cost than PG&E. So for the 97% of San Mateo County residents who receive Peninsula Clean Energy, they have paid roughly 5 to 10% less on their generation costs over the years, and a little bit more about that in a moment. Our other proposition is clean energy, and we have 100% clean energy. It's not 100% renewable because the state of California doesn't consider large hydro to be renewable, but most of our energy these days is solar and wind. We also have battery storage, and some geothermal, as well as the hydro. We also appreciate the partnership with the city of Millbrae. Councilmember Fung is a director on our board of directors and also on our executive committee, and Councilmember Nguyen is the alternate. And so Millbrae does have a voice on our activities, and that includes rate setting as well as our investments in the community. And so as you can see from the slide, we have invested in solar systems in the city of Millbrae. Whoa, nope, let's go back. I can't read that quickly. So the solar systems at City Hall, the Corporation Yard, the Rec Center cost us approximately $3 million to build, but it will result in $4.5 million in savings projected for the city of Millbrae over the 20-year life of the contracts. The way it works is we front the costs, we charge for the energy, and that's how we recoup our cost. But at the end of the day, we project $4.5 million in savings on those. Of course, if the price of energy goes up, and it certainly may in the next 20 years, those savings would likely be even greater. We've also helped place 33 electric vehicle chargers at the Corp Yard, City Hall, the Rec Center, and our contribution towards that was $139. And we provided a member agency grant about 2 years ago, and my understanding is that's being applied towards streetlights, community landscaping, and fleet EV charging. We also invest in the private sector, and so many of you in the community and with the council joined us at Bayview Condominiums last September for a ribbon cutting, and there's a picture of that later in the slide deck. And so if anybody is interested in any of these efforts, please feel free to reach out to us. We could go to the next slide, please. Over the course of the 10 years of Peninsula Clean Energy providing service to Millbrae, Millbrae residents have received $4.6 million in total savings. That's just the amount of the difference between what we have charged and what you would have seen on your bill had PG&E been your electricity provider. That equates to 7 free days of energy every single year. The community has also received $1.5 million in community reinvestment. That's a variety of programs that we provide, and you can go to our website to find out more about that. But that includes rebates that we provide to those who maybe install a heat pump HVAC unit or a heat pump water heater. We did provide a $300 one-time bill credit to all CARE and FARA customers in the city of Millbrae receiving Peninsula Clean Energy generation 2 years ago. And there's also a zero-interest loan available. If you want to electrify an appliance or something in your home, we can provide up to $10,000 payable over 5 years. It is a no-interest loan, and payments will be seen on your bill as the period of the loan passes. If we go to the next slide, please. So our role in the 10 years we've been providing service in Millbrae has expanded. We started out as the electricity provider, but in response to community desires, we have been very focused on rates and affordability, and we've also developed these long-term partnerships, many of which I've discussed with the city and with the community. And that includes the rebates and other education programs. We work with cities on their climate action plans and in other ways where requested. We could go to the next slide, please. So what's ahead? It's our 10-year anniversary, and we're very excited to include Millbrae in our celebration. We're looking to install a battery backup at the Recreation Center. Through the end of our fiscal year, which ends June 30th, there will continue to be a 10% discount on your bills from Peninsula Clean Energy. Our board will take up a budget as they do every year in June. We are going to roll out a new residential and solar storage backup system in the year ahead. I'm just teasing it here because the details are to come, and somebody else will be back to share that information with you. We also partner with community-based organizations, and that includes the Millbrae-based Peninsula Chinese Business Association. We could move to the next slide, please. Oh, I think we skipped a slide. Well, no, sorry, let's go back. Thank you. So one of the changes that is in the offing, we are changing our name from Peninsula Clean Energy to WestLight Energy. The reasons for that are at least threefold. One is that Peninsula Clean Energy is a little bit clunky. It's hard for some people to pronounce. It is often confused, our acronym is PCE, often confused with PGE or PG&E. And it no longer describes our community. We now serve the community of Los Banos in Merced County. We added them to our service territory about 5 years ago. So the change of WestLight Energy is the basis for my being here this evening, primary basis. It's on your agenda, and we'd appreciate your votes in support. It's an administrative measure at this point. The board has already voted to change the name. But we also wanted to alert you to this change that's coming. It will be on bills beginning probably in July, and you may receive constituent inquiries, so feel free to send them our way. We'd be happy to address that, but it will start showing up on customer bills in the July-August cycle, depending on when your bill is generated by PG&E as WestLight Energy. Next slide, please. So our ask tonight, again, is your support of the JPA amendment, which is on your agenda. We appreciate your help in clearly communicating the change to the community. We are looking to perhaps partner with you and send out a letter to your residents informing them of this change, and so they don't think that it's an extra bill or a change in service. The service remains the same. Our organization and our mission remains the same. And we also invite you in the community to join us for our 10th year celebration. We are going to have a policy forum in September. We'll have other community activities, and really appreciate any feedback you can provide tonight and moving ahead. Last slide, please. And that's us. Thank you so much. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hirschman. I think you always will be PCE to me, so apologize if we did name you a little bit going forward. But thank you very much, and we look forward also to that battery storage facility at the rec center. I think that will be very important in terms of being able to utilize that in case of a disaster or an emergency, to have that backup, and also to be able to utilize the solar energy during the evening hours and not being as reliant on the grid.
But we really appreciate City Manager Williams and Ms. Papajohn's support and working with them. That's why there's so many projects in Millbrae. Terrific partnership.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Councilmember Riley?
Thank you. We always benefit from the Peninsula Energy. And the new name obviously better than older name. Older name only Peninsula. Now West is bigger. So congratulations. I like the new name.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope you will. And our last board meeting, we took a look at some of the artwork that's going to go along with it, and look forward to bringing that to you also.
Vice Mayor Rinaldi?
Yeah, just a real quick thank you to Mark, former Mayor Hirschman. Peninsula Clean Energy, I think, Ruben, you're spot on. It's going to be hard to not dead name. So try to practice the new name, WestLight Energy. You guys do a lot of great environmental work here in Millbrae, and it's obvious. Hearing about some of those special loans that you offer for electrification too, it's really great work, and helping you communicate this message. I'm sure City Manager Williams and staff will work hard at that as well. So thank you for the partnership.
Thank you. We'll now open this up to public comment. There's no speaker slips. Okay. If anyone would like to speak on the public, please fill out a speaker slip and bring it forward. But we do have a raised hand on Zoom. Ann Schneider, one former mayor to another.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all the mayors up there. As a former board member of Peninsula Clean Energy, good presentation on why it's changing to WestLight, not to be confused with Westlake, but good luck on that. I will point out to the council, in my time on the PCE board, there was one thing where there were a few of us that weren't 100% happy with the decision, and that was the amount of money PCE spends on marketing. At the time, they wanted to differentiate the name PCE from PG&E. So again, WestLight does make sense. I just would say, Mr. Hirschman, now that I actually am a senior on fixed income with really high medical insurance costs, I am spending more attention on the money, and I would like to know that WestLight is not going to spend a huge fortune on making sure that everybody understands the brand differentiation. That was a disagreement a couple of marketing people on PCE had with those of us who felt it would be better spent pouring back into all the great community programs and not spent on a heck of a lot of marketing. Otherwise, I wish you good luck, and I'm looking forward to the us old-timer meeting on Monday.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Seeing no other speaker slips or raised hands, public comment is now closed. So unless there are any other comments, we can entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
yes,
real quick,
City Manager.
I would also like to thank Mr. Hirschman and the whole staff at PCE, or now WestLight. Several years ago, when we were working with them, not only on this building and the addition of solar arrays on the Jacuzzi room and the library, as you know, Mr. Mayor, because you were on the council at the time, they really were flexible and did a great job in pivoting and making the recreation center the first priority. They had to go back and change their plans and work with us. So I think that that is something that we have highlighted in the past, but really deserves recognition in the partnership that we have with WestLight in the city. And that was just a fantastic project and partnership. So I wanted to just bring that to light as well.
Thank you.
Bring that to WestLight, I should say.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Rinaldi and a second from myself. Can we have a vote, please?
Item number 9 passes by a vote of 3.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, up next is item 10. This is an event policy study session, and we have our Recreation Director, Hannah Moran.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council Member. I'm happy to be up here tonight, and you will have me for a little while because I have the next 2 agenda items. So I think Brad said it last time, don't get too tired of me too quickly. But yeah, so we're going to start off today with our Millbrae event policy study session. And I want to start off by just saying we're here tonight with just an initial draft policy. So we look forward to questions and discussion from the City Council as we continue to evolve this policy with you all. And then, of course, also, as you know, Millbrae hosts a wide range of events. This includes city-planned events, commission and committee-sponsored events, facility rentals, and community-led special events. We'll go into details and definitions of those in a little while, but overall, just note that these events support community engagement, economic activity, often from visitors outside of Millbrae attending, and of course, help the quality of life for our residents. Events are currently managed through departmental procedures, application processes, and by utilizing the master fee schedule, again, which we'll get into a little bit further on. But as event activities have grown in the past few years here in Millbrae, we are looking for clearer and more consistent guidelines, and those are needed regarding facility use, impacts on city services, and evaluation of fee waiver requests. Many groups approach the city requesting new events and fee waivers, and we as a city must ensure that we have the resources to accommodate requests and provide guidelines around that. Next slide. So the purpose of this policy is to establish a comprehensive and consistent framework for how events are evaluated, approved, and supported by the city. And we also want to provide clear, consistent, and equitable requirements for the planning, the approval, and the management of all of these events. This will, in turn, protect city resources while still continuing to support the community events that we all know and love. It will also foster fairness, transparency, and ensure long-term sustainability in the use of all of our public facilities, all our city services, and the city rights of way. Next slide. So we're gonna get into some details here, and hopefully this first slide is the easy one. This is city-planned events. So these events are the ones that are planned, organized, and operated by the City of Millbrae or the Millbrae Recreation Department. Easy to talk about these when we talk about examples, right? So examples of these would be Beats, Brews, and Vines, and shameless plug here, we do hope that all of you attend our Beats, Brews, and Vines this year. We have some great bands coming up, so keep an eye out for that. But it includes movie nights. We do movie nights both in Central Park during the warmer months and in our recreation center when it's colder. We do have a senior luncheon that happens once a month, and it's gotten so big, it's now almost an event in our recreation center every month. And then another great example is our 4th of July celebration in Central Park. These are all city-planned events, and these are planned within the authorized functions and the approved budgets of the city departments. One thing we want to note in this policy when it comes to city-planned events is these events would take priority over all other event requests. So again, example of that would be 4th of July in Central Park. We know that the city has started hosting that. It has been extremely successful. So if another event, another special event application would come through outside of the city would take priority for that day. So city planned events do take priority. as part of this policy. Next slide. Another type of event that the city and the city council have supported are commission and committee events. These events are sponsored by city commission and or committees, and they're included within an approved work plan and supported by city staff. So a great example of this would be the Millbrae Art Show. Earlier, the city manager spoke about that. We do have one coming up on May 9th, another shameless plug. We thank our Millbrae Cultural Arts Advisory Committee for bringing that to city council, and it was part of their approved work plan. So those events and expenditures must be included in a city council approved commission or committee work plan. If a work plan has been approved and there is a committee or commission that wants to do an additional event or has additional funding requests, that would require approval through a work plan amendment. One important notation we have in the policy is members of commissions and committees may not raise funds on behalf of the city directly unless it's through an officially authorized process. This is also important to note because for committees and commissions who are volunteers and really working on these events, of course, we want to make them as big and as good as possible. So oftentimes it might be very tempting to go try to raise funds on behalf of the city, but that would need to be through a very approved process before any commission or committee members do that. So yeah, we wanted to note that as part of this policy draft. Next slide. All right, so this is a good time to take a moment and talk about different definitions in this policy. It's important to define the difference between these different type of events that do take place already in Millbrae. So just quickly, the definition of facility rental events, these are events that consist solely of permitted use of a city facility or field or park space that does not exceed established capacity thresholds or limits, and that do not require additional city services and are not requesting a fee waiver. Essentially, this is just a regular facility rental. Somebody renting the Great Hall, paying the full fees, and holding an event there without asking for additional city services could be considered an event, but it's really a facility rental. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about all of these in future slides. In this policy, a special event is defined as any organized activity that impacts city services or involves the use of public property, or that may affect surrounding neighborhoods through traffic, noise, or safety considerations. Now, to further define the next thing, we want to talk about fee waiver and reductions. Fee waivers or reductions, they are a request for partial or full reduction of city fees associated with an event, and these are subject always to city council approval. Special event applications are required for all events defined as a special event in this policy and for all events that are requesting fee waivers or reductions. Next slide. All right, so we're going a little bit deeper, so stay with me. So private events, and what we're talking about here are events that are exempt from the special event application. Again, we spoke about this a little bit, but facility rentals, again, an event that consists solely of regular use of a city facility and does not exceed the established limits or require any additional city services. And of course, like I said, does not request a fee waiver. These are just considered facility rentals. A great example of this is a couple or maybe a little bit more a few years ago, we did have the Silicon Valley Bike Coalition have an event at our recreation center, but there was no additional city services needed. They paid the rental fees at the recreation center. They did the facility rental permits and all the requirements that come with that, but did not exceed or ask for additional services. So they considered it an event because they rented multiple rooms within the recreation space. But again, there was no additional requests beyond what a regular rental would give. And so that did not require a special event application or permit. And then we do also want to just mention and throw in here events on private property. Those also don't require a special event permit unless they get big enough that they end up requiring city services. And these are things like traffic control, public safety, public works support, or sometimes events, you know, if there was ever a time where they included a structure that needed a review for public safety. If none of those services are needed or none of those type of services are needed from the city and it's on private property, a special event would not be required. So again, these on this slide are things that are exempt from special event applications. Next slide. So now we get into when special event applications are needed. And these are any organized activity that is done by an outside entity that impacts city services, or if an entity is requesting a fee waiver. So we have some wonderful examples of wonderful events that have been going on in Millbrae. This would include Lunar New Year, Rotary Spring Festival, the Lions Car Show, Relay for Life, Art and Wine Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival, Japanese Cultural Festival, and a couple years ago, we also had an event called Fashion with the Mission by the Philippine Medical Society, which was held completely in the Recreation Center. So as you know, a lot of those events require street closures, public works support, and often those are asking for a fee waiver. I did want to point out the Fashion with a Mission, because that event was essentially a facility rental, but because it requested a fee waiver, that in turn made a special event application required because they were requesting a fee waiver. If they were to have paid the fee, it would have, again, just been a facility rental. So any fee waiver does need to come to City Council through the special event process. And because a lot of these things are intertwined, you'll hear me repeat things because, again, it is a little nuanced and we want to make sure there is understanding. So again, special event applications are required for use of public property that are beyond regulated limits or that may affect surrounding neighborhoods through traffic noise or safety concerns. And then if those are part of the special event, then the entity must submit a special event application. Street closures and fee waivers always require City Council approval. Again, meaning that a special event application is required. Next slide. So with all the requests we get and the robust program we already support, we wanted to add some guardrails. And one of the ways to do that is to establish general capacity thresholds. So right now, we do already have some wonderful events downtown on Broadway. So at this point, it's important for us to limit that as to not cause too much work for our public works staff, not to encroach on businesses. And so we are very proud, again, of the events that are happening. But we want to limit the special events that require street closures on Broadway to 7 days per year in aggregate. Priority will go to the recurring annual events that are in good standing. And those currently are Lunar New Year, Millbrae Machines that are done by the Lions, Art and Wine, Mid-Autumn Festival. And those are the events that are currently in good standing that we would like to continue. Those events do max us out at 7 days per year. So this, implementing this policy as is would mean that we are at our capacity on Broadway. But again, very supportive of the events that are already taking place. With this, again, it's important to note that City Plans events are not included in this limitation. So that would be Beats, Brews, and Vines concert series would be an example of that. On top of that, we do also want to put a limitation on Central Park Special events shall generally be limited to 4 days per calendar year to minimize impact on park conditions and the surrounding neighborhoods. So the priority events will go to recurring annual events that are in good standing, and those current are Rotary Spring Festival and Relay for Life. City planned events are not included in this limitation, and an example of that would be the 4th of July in Central Park celebration. Next slide. So fee waivers and reductions. As we mentioned, fee waivers and reductions may only be approved by City Council, and all requests must be part of the special event application process. Events receiving fee waivers must, of course, comply with all state and federal laws, and events receiving fee waivers must be open to the public and must have a clear public benefit to the City of Millbrae. This is where we want to add some additional guardrails and note that only nonprofit entities are eligible for fee waivers as part of this policy, as part of this proposed policy. So to continue with those guardrails, the max in aggregate per Millbrae-based entity per fiscal year, we are suggesting a maximum of $9,000, again, per fiscal year. And that would be adjustable yearly by the Consumer Price Index to match how we do our master fee schedule. We are also looking at a max of $4,500 in aggregate per non-Millbrae-based nonprofit per year for special events. Again, also adjustable by the yearly Consumer Price Index. Of course, with this, proof of nonprofit status is required. And we are also, as part of this policy, requesting that all special event applications that are requesting a fee waiver do turn in a financial report for their event. And this would be required as part of the special event application review to keep things transparent for City Council and our residents. Next page. It's important that Council also understands the methodology we currently use for fee waivers. Fee waiver requests are evaluated using the adopted City of Millbrae master fee schedule. This schedule establishes standardized costs for services such as street closures, barricades, no parking signage, and there's other related event support services in the master fee schedule that are utilized when an entity is requesting a fee waiver. In fiscal year 2025, the total fee waivers granted for special events was $54,715. That was between all the entities that requested and utilized fee waivers. So currently the master fee schedule remains the baseline for determining the value of city services when reviewing fee waiver requests. But there is additional costs that the city does incur, and they do support these entities in their events because we do realize that events are a benefit to our community, as mentioned in the beginning. We often get people from outside of Millbrae to come in and enjoy and learn Millbrae. And again, it does improve and support the quality of life for our residents here as well. Next slide. So this one is not as common, but it is one to mention and one to have in our policies. And that is public-private partnerships with for-profit entities. There would be a limited amount. Of course, this would still be subject to all the other guidelines in the policy, such as like the limitation on Broadway street closures. But sometimes there are opportunities for limited partnerships with for-profit entities. And they can be considered where clear public benefit is demonstrated and where the contributions from the entity meet or exceed city costs. But these partnerships would require city manager review, and they would be formalized through a separate agreement and subject to city council approval. An example of this would be the Daily Journal Senior Showcase, a clear public benefit for our seniors, and that did come before council with a separate agreement. Next slide. So compliance and enforcement, these are very standard. Event organizers must comply with all applicable city policy, guidelines, permit conditions, including but not limited to county health permits and central fire permits, and of course, any legal requirements. The city does reserve the right to impose conditions that are necessary to protect public health, safety, and the welfare of our residents and businesses and the public at large. All applicants must indemnify, protect, defend, and hold the city of Millbrae harmless. Applicants would also provide a certificate of insurance, of course, naming the city of Millbrae as additionally insured. Next slide. So process and procedures. We've mentioned this quite a few times, but the City Council retains the final authority over special event approvals that involve street closures and special event approvals requesting fee waivers and reductions. But do note, organizations not in good standing with the city shall be ineligible for special event approval. An organizer's compliance history with special event guidelines, city policy, permit conditions, and applicable laws will be considered in evaluating all the applications. We know that you all know that this policy doesn't cover everything, right? There's a lot of details that go into special event planning. So we didn't want you to think that we have forgotten anything. There is and will be an additional document, which is just a special event administrative guidelines that come from the staff, and we work with event organizers on. And this will detail operational requirements, including compliance deadlines, vendor regulations, equipment standards. And again, this will be maintained in a separate special event administration guideline document. Next slide. So if you're wondering what kind of things will be in that document, again, we didn't want you to think we forgot anything. So these are just some of the things that would not be in the policy, but would still be a condition as part of that document. That would be restroom requirements based on projected attendance, including ADA accessible facilities, security plans and staffing levels, waste management and composting plans, traffic control plans that are approved by Public Works, and emergency access, of course, that's maintained at all times for fire and police. Next slide. And so with that, tonight we are looking to council to review just this initial draft for the city event policies and ask questions and provide direction to staff on setting these policies tonight. So yeah, with that, I turn it over to you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Moran, for that presentation. Any comments or questions from the council this time? Ms. Vice Mayor Rinaldi?
Thanks, Mayor Holber. Just a real quick comment for the public. So this is a study session, so it's not as if we're adopting something that's concrete tonight. So really, it's meant for our first outing to have a conversation with everyone here on council, get an understanding of this, and work off of it. So just wanted to start by making that comment.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Riley?
Thank you for your presentation. I can see lots of information. You've done lots of work. So I think since this is related to all of those events, and we have two council members not here, I think it's benefit we continue to next meeting.
Yes, I think, as the Vice Mayor just mentioned, we're likely not going to take any formal action tonight. This is a study session, so I think it's just an opportunity for staff to hear, our thoughts from the council, thoughts from the public as well. And there's probably a little bit more, fine tuning that will be needed before we have a formal policy, but I think a good opportunity to provide that feedback. Now, I know we have several speakers who would like to speak about this this evening. Yeah, just a couple of questions I had, and thank you. It sounds like a lot of, hard, thoughtful work went into this. And one question I had was about the stage that we have. And I believe that typically is one of the fees that is waived, stage fee, is that correct?
Yes.
Because, my understanding is I was on the council at the time when that was purchased, and I know there were some contributions from some civic organizations to help purchase that, but I think the idea was over time, we would recoup our costs through, renting that out for, both for special events internally as well as other cities that may need to use a stage, or events outside of Millbrae. So I'm curious as to how that's going and if we are receiving any revenue from that at this time.
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a couple of entities that did help in donating and purchasing the stage, and so there was agreements made at the time when that was purchased with a couple of our entities. Those do come to council as fee waivers when requested, and we have had inquiries, I think sometimes even, I'll give an example, last year, the city of San Bruno was thinking about renting it from us. Where they wanted it though, the trees were too low, and so they ended up not doing it. But so we do have requests from time to time. We haven't rented it out recently. Requests, sometimes people find either, a better size of a stage or et cetera. So right now we're mostly using them for the Millbrae events, including our own city planned events.
Okay, and do those agreements with the organizations that help to fund them, do those expire at some point, or are they in perpetuity?
Yeah, so one of our entities, it doesn't expire, it's supposed to be in perpetuity, and another one pays a smaller fee.
And then, a couple other comments. One comment that I have heard about some of our downtown events, for example, is that they tend to be very food heavy, some of the events, as opposed to, food versus, for sale items or informational booths or whatnot. And, while it's great to bring people in, we also want people to be visiting our restaurants downtown as well. So I don't know if there is some consideration of, food vendors and either limitations to food, what percentage of vendors are food versus non-food, or utilizing local businesses as opposed to hiring outside vendors. Obviously, we love to, get the turkey leg at the festival and whatnot, but yeah, I'm just curious if that's something that's come up.
Yeah, and that can be, I'll look at the city manager, but if with council's direction, that could be an additional guardrail that I believe that we could implement in the policy for council. Additionally, we could include that, and I think we had planned to include that in our administrative guidelines, but with council direction, if it wanted to be more concrete, I believe we could look into including that in the policy as well.
Yeah, it might be something at least to see if, if there are other cities that have done something similar in terms of their events. And also, obviously if there's some type of food that's unique that you only would get at a fair or that we don't have, downtown Millbrae, that's one thing. If it's something that's very similar to, a downtown restaurant or, a boba or something like that, that people easily could be, patronizing our Millbrae businesses. That's another thing.
Yeah, Mayor, one of the things that we've discussed, and that's a great question, I think something that we really need to hone in on. So we've been kicking around 20-25% of the overall spaces for whatever event it is be limited to prepared food. We can then increase that percentage if there are local Millbrae restaurants that do have the booths.
Okay.
So something to consider as we're.
Yeah, and again, also to look into, what best practices there are. I'm sure others have come up with, a policy in the past. And then just another, comment, the fees are supposed to be proportionate to, the city's costs, right? Or some type of cost to the city for closing the streets, for putting up barricades, hiring staff. So, I mean, if we could just be mindful of, how many, are we right-sizing our, staffing for these events? And are there ways to, contain costs internally, right? Regardless of what we say, the fee is that's being waived. So just something to be mindful about. Try to economize where we can.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, that's also a great point because as Hannah mentioned, the fee waiver is based on our fee schedule. And so some of the benefit of the partnership that the city has with organizations, what we've reflected is not the total cost because we do pay overtime, both to the sheriff's office, our public works folks. That's something that in the past the council has just contributed as a partner to these events. So, very, very good point, and we will be mindful of that.
Okay. Unless anyone else has any comments, we can go to public comment. We can circle back to the council later on. But we will begin with the in-person comments. If you'd like to speak, please fill out a speaker slip. And if you're online, please use the raised hand feature in Zoom. We will begin with Albert Yam.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Albert Yam. I am Vice Chair for the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also responsible for the Art and Wine show this year. I wanted to thank City staff, Ms. Moran, for the in-depth explanation. I think it's a great opportunity for us to really look into it. I want to bring this conversation back to two fundamental questions. What are we doing for the community, and what are we doing for our local economy? Because at the end of the day, our downtown businesses are not just participants, and they are the backbone of these events. They are the reason people come to Millbrae, they are the reason they stay, and they're the reason we have a downtown. And I think there is still something we need to do. We need a broader intentional discussion on just about how these events are regulated. I think city staff made a really good coverage on that. But I also want to see how they are leveraged. How can we leverage these events to bring more people to downtown and come to Millbrae and spend money? And that will only help our local economy. That is also the only way that benefits all of our local businesses. The questions really are, in my opinion, how are we using this limited opportunity strategically? Are we aligning events with business leads? Are we measuring economic impact? Or are we coordinating across all stakeholders who actually make these events successful? Because if we're not, we're leaving a lot on the table. Some of the feedback, the last weekend I've been walking downtown, some of the feedback I'm getting from local brick and mortar businesses, merchants, is that Millbrae is not business friendly. This is an opportunity for us to clear this misunderstanding with the local businesses. And I also say this, there are multiple groups, perspectives, and operators in this space. And they all need to be at the table, not in silo, not in competition, but in a structured, honest study session where we all look at the full ecosystem, events, businesses, parking, and so on. And speaking about parking, I was at the study session last night, and it's good that the city is hiring the consultant to do that, but I think the local businesses, a lot of them don't even know about the paid parking issues, so, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Ken Smith.
Hello. Thank you for all your hard work you guys do. My name's Ken Smith, and I'm a resident on Millbrae. I wanted to speak a couple of things about, we're being known as the city of festivals. I think we all kind of heard that, right? And so putting these guardrails along with our activities is really, I think, outline was fantastic. People are coming here, they're from all over the Bay Area, they're shopping, they're going to our restaurants. It's fantastic. I guess my concerns with all this is it comes down to the dollars, right? And I hear a lot of waivers of fees. And I'm not really, you know what? As a resident, why would I want the waiver fees? Because I'm paying the taxes. That means less money for us. Means more money I have to pay. We just heard our water rates going up. We just heard our garbage bills going up. So, council, when you are considering to waiver a fee, I want you to think about my words. Why? Why is it so important that we're waiving fees? These people are, all organizations, profit or nonprofit, they're all making money. They should be able to pay for themselves. I mean, one of the things that came up, and I was thinking about this already, was that the overtime, all these festivals, especially on the street fairs, these festivals, they cost us a lot of money in overtime. I want those captured. I want all those costs captured. I don't want anybody to not, we as residents don't need to pay for these festivals, period. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be upset or angry about it. I'm just trying to be common sense about it, right? If people are making, the nonprofit and the profit are making a lot of money, they can pay. The other thing is parking for the street festivals downtown. How many people have had their driveway blocked? How many people can't get out of the neighborhood because there's too many cars? It's a problem, right? And so I'm not saying we're going to change anything, but it has to be some considerations. Can we do our daily activities during the festival days? No, I don't think so. If you don't have your groceries all shopped and done, you're stuck in your house. So, you know, it's kind of like the sunset with the Great Highway. The whole city voted on it, but it affected a very small portion of San Francisco. Well, it's the same thing for us on the Highlands. It affects us on the Highlands. Doesn't affect up on the Meadows, but affects us. So that's something I want to just point out. And I guess lastly is that has the city staff gone to all the businesses and say, do you want these festivals? Nay or yay? Is it hurting your business or is it enhancing your business? You know, it'd be a good study. So that's my points. Thank you very much for taking time. And I hope that when you do your study, you consider all these points I brought up. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Vernon Bruce.
Yes, as you just heard, my name is Vernon Bruce. I have, thank you, Mayor Harbler and council members. I've had a business in downtown Millbrae now for nearly 5 decades. And I'd just like to say that when my business was open on Saturdays, I closed it on the days of the Art and Wine Festival. But I was happy to do that because I realized it was putting Millbrae on the map. And I'm certain that over the years, I've more than made up in business from outside our community that's called on me and come into my business. And I'm certain my neighbors have too. I'd like to say I want to congratulate Anna and the city staff for the very well organized policy, and I think a standardized policy definitely should be done. Have heard over the years complaints from various businesses. Sometimes I've seen them very busy during the festivals. All of the festivals currently are well attended, and I'd like to say that they monetarily, I'm sure they bring more sales tax to the city during the festival. Should certainly, hopefully, make up some of the lost fees. I would like to also emphasize the existing events that we have. It'd be nice if you had some kind of deference or basically leeway given with the fees. These are nonprofits, so the organizations themselves are not really truly making money. They're ultimately putting it back into the community. I know that for a fact with the Chamber of Commerce, the Millbrae Cultural Committee, and others. So since I don't like game shows, I don't want to listen to that sound, so I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Janet Fogarty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm not here officially from any organization yet, but I am president of Millbrae Rotary. I am secretary to the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, and I am secretary, past president to the Millbrae Community Foundation. And I would like to invite the city, particularly Hannah, and thank you, Hannah, for all of the thought that went into this, to come to those organizations, talk to them, find out what the concerns are, get people's questions answered. This is a pretty complex piece of ordinance in front of you. And I think it would be good for our community to have an opportunity to have more of a one-on-one conversation. I know there's concerns about Brown Act and all the rest of it, but I think there are going to be some big impacts on our community service organizations. And as Vern just said, for what they do, they bring a lot of revenue to the city. They bring a lot of joy to the city. They bring something to the city that makes this city really special, and that's that sense of community. So we do, bring people from outside. I hear the same kind of thing, that this is a festival city, and I hear it with positivity, not negativity, because people come here to have a good time, and they bring their families. And if you go downtown, you see little kids with their parents, you see old folks with their shopping bags and their walkers. You see people having fun in a safe community. A community feels like people care. So I would urge you to make sure that those organizations that help to bring this spirit of community to our city have an opportunity to find out more about what you're planning that's going to affect their ability to continue to provide those services to us. I also would like to suggest that the city look at what some other cities do, because I'm sure we're not the first city to consider this. I hear, for instance, that the city of San Mateo has a policy very similar to what you're talking about, but they've tweaked it somewhat so that when they have organizations that do this a lot, they have a separate agreement with those organizations. So thank you very much for allowing us to sit in on this, hear this, and I invite you to all three of those organizations that I'm also participating in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fogarty. The next speaker is Judy Louie.
Good evening, everyone. Millbrae may be a small city, but it has always been vibrant. The two annual festivals organized by the Millbrae MCC have become significant events, drawing local residents and visitors from across the Bay Area. These events, as thanks to the long This event thanks to the long-term support of the city, and we sincerely appreciate this partnership. Local restaurant owners support that their revenue during festival days often increases by 1 or 2 times. The influx of visitors boosts Millbrae's economy, strengthens local businesses, and raises the city's visibility in the Bay Area. As attendance continues to grow, the current space is no longer sufficient. Expanding the event area will provide a safer and more comfortable environment, improve crowd flow, and reduce congestion, enhance visitor experience, and support local business. A larger space will allow more family and community group to participate and will continue the strong partnership between the city and MCC. The city's support has always been essential to the success of these events. We are grateful for the city's ongoing support and hope to further improve and expand the festival, bringing more energy, visitor, and economic benefit to Millbrae. With the continued support, Millbrae will remain a cultural and community highlight of the Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hold applause, please. Okay. Thank you. The next speaker is Ninhua Cheng.
Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council Member. My name is Ninhua Chen, Millbrae resident for 26 years. And I'm the president of Millbrae Cultural Committee since 2019. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the city staff and the council members' support. That's so important to this organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so your support make this event available to our Millbrae community. And we know that we're growing in the past few years, and we attract a lot of people from other counties. But we also believe that we help the local business, bringing a lot of good benefits to them. And a few years ago, we did the survey, and I walked to all the stores and then to talk to the merchants. We did a survey form. And we did hear some negative feedback. The majority give us the positive feedback. And the negative feedback is because of parking. The parking, we need a garage, we need a parking structure, okay? And then that will improve a lot. And then, so Millbrae Cultural Committee started in 2019. And then our mission is to build a stronger community through cultural diversity and to create opportunities that will bring people together. We're all volunteers-based, nonprofit, no staff, no compensation. We're just the residents, care deeply about our city. And so these events are more than celebrations, and they created the connections across cultures and support the local businesses. I remember one year we did not have the Mid-Autumn Festival for some reason, but the next year we were asked to have this event back again. So we know that the importance of this festival. And anyway, so our mission is to foster a strong sense of belonging in our community. And as you consider this event policy, we respectfully hope it will continue to support the community-based organizations like ours and provide the flexibility for established events to grow and succeed. And so we look forward to continuing our partnership with our city to serve the community together. And thank you.
Thank you. The next, yeah, please, we don't applaud, we don't boo, we don't cheer here in the audience for public speakers. Okay, the next speaker is Lixi Huang.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council member. Good evening, everyone. For many years, MCC have hosted Moon Festival, Lunar New Year's celebration, and Millbrae Art Wine Festival. This public culture event bring together residents from Millbrae and neighboring cities, promote diversity, and strengthen our community identity. This largest scale event features over 100 vendors offering a wide variety of cultural food and experience, including Hong Kong style dessert, Taiwanese snack, and other unique specialties. They attract visitors from across the region, boosting local tourism, supporting economic growth, and contributing to the city's prosperity. Beyond this economic impact, this event helps connect different generations and communities, creating shared experience that foster understanding and united. Over the years, they have become major cultural highlights in the Bay Area. We are deeply grateful for the strong support from the city government and all council members in making this event possible. To further improve safety and convenience, I hope the city can continue to provide additional parking options and better traffic management during this event. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Kathleen Kimura.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members, and thank you for allowing me some time. My name is Kathleen Kimura. I've lived in Millbrae for 48 years. And I'd like to thank the City Council and the Recreation Department for their support of the many festivals we have in Millbrae, including, of course, our Japanese Culture Festival, which is a one-day festival, and this year we'll be celebrating our 21st year. The diversity of the city is something that we and I are all very, very proud of. And I think Millbrae extends a very, very warm welcome to all activities and all cultures. And I think it is, as everyone has said earlier, it is what makes Millbrae a great city of festivals. In listening to all of the different discussions, and Hannah, thank you very much for your detailed presentation this evening. And I've really enjoyed working with the Recreation Department over the years with our festival. And I'd like to thank the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, who act as our festival's fiscal sponsor, which provides great transparency for our reporting of the results of the festival. In order to compromise, I'm just thinking of all the time and effort that the staff make, except for the Art and Wine Festival, which of course is over 50 years old and is a standard festival in Millbrae that brings everybody here during a holiday weekend. Maybe we should restrict all festivals to be one day only, in which case, with regard to the closure of Broadway and the effect it has on some of the businesses, maybe Sundays could be a good festival day, allowing Saturday to be open for regular businesses, including the farmers market for the Art and Wine Festival. It's just something to think about. I know you've got to go into great study sessions to do this, but I'm just kind of throwing something out as a possible idea to restrict all festivals to be for one day only, and therefore not cutting back on any of the festivals, but just keep them to one day. Anyway, that's just a thought. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Marion Kong.
Well, I'm back again. Okay. I heard everybody was saying that, you know, when a city want to help to promote and market themselves, what can you think about the money? What kind of cost you're gonna have to market yourself? But with all these festivals in our city, we actually place Millbrae in a known position in the Greater Bay Area. We even have people come from New York to come to our event. I even had the deputy secretary from State Department come to our event. So I think that's valuable. The city should consider using all these means to promote the city itself. And then like our president had presented, we did a survey. Every year after every festival, we walk around downtown. I can share with you one example. There's one business told me that that one weekend, he made enough 4 months rent because his regular business is not that great. He made 4 months rent, which that's very important. And then they just talk about Lunar New Year just happened this year. I even see the every restaurant in Broadway, there's line outside the door. There's line. And then not just talk about Asian restaurant, but there's line, okay? And then also, I do not mind if our city Millbrae called Festival City. What's wrong? What do we have? How do we get ourselves into the map? That I think that works for me. And then, and also, I also heard from somebody saying, the reason we have so many festivals is because our Chinese moved in and Chinese businesses occupied downtown. That is pretty hurting to me, very sad, okay? And then also, MCC run this event. We aim no purpose of making money. We do not pay anybody on our staff. We even put in our own money to make things happen. I don't have a hired staff to do work. So there's no point, that's why, you know, so we are not in a hurry to make money, okay? So, but then some other people do, they have, but that's not my place to stay. And then also I just want to make a clear clarification. Why only MCC2 application got pulled from the council agenda? I demand to know why, okay? I demand to know why. And I wish you would reconsider, put it back onto the next city council agenda.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and seeing no other in-person speaker slips, we will go to online public comment. First speaker is Ann Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Hannah, on your slides, I might have missed if you had Library Lane on there. If you didn't, given that the Japanese Festival has a lot of activity in that area, we might want to also consider what happens in Constitutional Plaza, Library Lane, et cetera, on that. I think it's a great resource. And I think years ago, PCBA had their annual event on there. Then one year it was just so windy and rainy and cold. And I think later on that evolved into becoming the Lunar New Year Festival. So I would consider Library Lane as a venue. I also wondered if, when I looked at the 7 that you're approving, so that's fine, but we are a city of many, many nationalities. And what if, just as an example, our growing Palestinian population wanted to have some kind of street event? How would they, what would we then do if we had an 8th day that somebody wanted. I'm not saying which way you should go, just saying that you might want to consider that. That maybe then some of the 2-day festivals become 1-day festival, etc. And though the final one, Hannah, you had a slide that talks about waste management and composting. And again, you know what's going to be coming here. Andrea will know. It really should be zero waste event planning. And a subset of that is solid waste, recycling, and composting. I go to most of the events. I can find the vendors who are doing things to encourage composting and ones that are still using the wrong materials or bringing the wrong kinds of stuff. So that's really the zero waste event planning side. So it would be great while you're doing all of this terrific work that all of you staff have put into this to consider going that extra step on zero waste event planning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other speaker slips and no other raised hands in Zoom, public comment is now closed. Are there any other comments back now for the council? Comments, questions from the council? Vice Mayor Rinaldi?
Thanks, Mayor Oliver. Thanks to everyone in the public that came out and spoke tonight. It's helpful to hear your feedback. Obviously, today is a study session. We're just opening this up and getting feedback from everyone. Some of the key themes in the hearing tonight from all the public speakers is accountability, leveraging new commerce by using these events for promotional aspect outside of Millbrae to bring people in, getting business feedback and more communication with the groups that are involved. So I think it's all helpful comments for us to, with staff, work to help develop this as a whole, doing it as a community, not tearing each other down, but working together. It's also clear that with staff's presentation, that these 7 events that are current events right now aren't going anywhere with this new policy. Is that correct, staff?
That's what we propose, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. So I just want to reiterate that in case there's any concern or misinformation out there in the community, that these 7 days, these events aren't going anywhere. That's not this policy, what it's for, and that we need to have greater communication with the full public so we have a good policy. So just the very beginning of it. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Riley, do you have any comments, questions?
Thank you. 7 days event is not gonna go anywhere. That's very good comments. Appreciate. So since it's a study session, when we gonna bring back again for this?
Well, it depends on the direction of the city council this evening. It's a study session, so any feedback that we receive or direction from the council this evening, we will amend or change the proposed policy and then bring that back to the city council, probably for one more study session, and then the next meeting after that, approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And to answer the question, what if there's another group that wanted to do an event? I think, you know, maybe the Japanese Culture Festival would be a good model for that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a downtown event, at least not at first. So I think, you know, that's been very successful in the library parking lot. So it could be, you know, something similar to that. There's other locations besides the downtown for, you know, if they were to do another festival somewhere. Okay, I think this is great. I think, I mean, coming into tonight, has there been outreach to any of the community groups that sponsor festivals about this policy?
So we brought it to city council. A lot of the things in the policy are they're essentially current practice, to be honest. And again, this is providing guardrails so that when we get additional requests, as we do, that we're not overextending ourselves. So we brought it to city council first. We have not reached out specifically to different entities, but again, a lot of what's in here is part of our current practice.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll add to that. And the reason why, and then we'd be happy to do that, we wanted to present it to the city council first, so we didn't get ahead of the city council. And so we wanted to have this study session this evening, present it to you, get your feedback, And then, you know, if you'd like us to go out to the groups that we work with, the nonprofit, we'd be happy to do that. But it was a strategy. We did not want to get ahead of the city council and have groupthink and have different factions try to set policy for us.
Oh, Vice Mayor, comment?
Yeah, just a real quick comment. I think the city staff's report was helpful for this agenda item and quantifying what the waivers are that we fee, how much that comes out to, 54,000 just about. But I think what would be really helpful if we understood from a staff level from the city of Millbrae of exactly how much overtime, you know, what other costs that may not be associated with just the fee waivers. So that way it really brings to light why we're putting a policy together in general. Obviously, the city's going to be growing. There's a lot of development going on. So I think it's very helpful to quantify those numbers.
Yeah, and we've done that, and it depends on the festival. Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, it's right around $100,000 in total cost with overtime from CCFD, Sheriff's Office, and our various staff.
So we're talking about a total all-in of about $154,000?
No, 100,000 where the 54,000.
Included?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Somewhere between 100 and 120,000.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And then something else I think to consider is, you know, maybe seeing if we can utilize any private property for some of these events as well. Like, you know, for example, could some of the activities maybe shift to, you know, for example, Millbrae Square parking lot, or other, you know, private parking lots downtown, to reduce the amount of streets, you know, how many blocks of the street that are closed. I know also the Gateway, they've been they've sponsored like the night market and other events there. So maybe that's something to consider, that they'd be amenable to more events, although that's a bit away from the downtown. And then I guess, yeah, the other things that we've discussed, like, you know, food vendors versus non-food vendors, trying to utilize local businesses, like maybe, you know, reach out to our local businesses, say, hey, would you like a booth downtown before hiring an outside vendor to come in? And then looking at, you know, best practices from other cities. I think it was suggested San Mateo may have a policy as well for downtown festivals, just to see what else is out there and if there's anything that we potentially are missing. And obviously we welcome feedback. If, you know, if anyone else has any other comments, please, you know, feel free to send them to us. You could do that offline, and we'll try to incorporate that into the next meeting as well. So do you think, oh, yes.
I was going to say, maybe this will help also, yeah, a little bit unrelated, but to quantify, some people had mentioned, you know, tax revenue, sales tax revenue of the city. So to put that in perspective, the city receives 1% of the sales tax. So, and I think this is a little bit high, but say, for example, each booth sells $3,000 of taxable sales items. The revenue that the city receives is only $30. And so you multiply that by 300 booths, taxable sales, you know, that's $9,000. So it's not as much as people may think, even though the sales tax revenue is, you know, $289 or whatever it is. Of that, we only get $30. So just to put that in perspective, because I hear a lot that, you know, people pay their taxes, where does all the money go? But I think it's important to educate and remind people that, yeah, you do pay taxes, but the city does not receive very much of that tax revenue.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think that was the comment. I think the comment was more so, why are we subsidizing these festivals when, you know, we're all being asked to pay, whether it's sales tax or property tax or whatever. But anyways, I think there's been a lot of good feedback tonight. And I mean, do you think 2 weeks from now is enough time, or do you think maybe 2 meetings from now would be better?
Well, so it sounds like we're on the right page, right? So we're not changing much, but we do want to put the guardrails up, as we had mentioned, the cap on what the city writes off, you know, per organization. I think limiting the amount of days to 7 downtown based on the feedback that we've received from downtown business owners. And to one of the public comments, and to your point, Mayor, we'd be happy to accommodate, we have our rec center, we have Central Park, we have private property. And so I think, as we grow and if we do get these requests, we certainly have the availability to redirect them into other venues. As you mentioned, MCC's night market, I think that's worked out great. One of the things that if the council would like us to and direct us this evening, we'd be happy to take the time to go out to the various groups, get more feedback from them and present to the city council. And if that's your desire, then I think we need a little bit more time than a couple of weeks. I'd say maybe first meeting in June, first or second meeting in June would provide us with the opportunity and the time to do that. If Hannah agrees with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, if it's okay with the city manager, having, again, clear, we're looking for direction from council, and so if that's visiting other groups, quantifying things, maybe looking into limiting food vendors. I will say that part of the process of this was to look actually at many different event policies from different cities, and San Mateo was one of them. But with the direction of the council, we can look at that as well. So I think those are the ones I caught, and so I just want to be clear with our direction and see if there's any other desires of council.
Ms. Marinati, did you have a comment?
Thanks, Mayor Hilber. Yeah, I would recommend that we direct staff to do a little bit more investigation and participating with the different groups so we get all the feedback from everyone. We're not making the decision in a vacuum, as well as looking at some of these neighboring cities and how they do their event policy. Because I don't think we necessarily have to reinvent the wheel with this, but I think, we need to make sure we have the feedback from the public. We're not doing this in a vacuum. That's my greatest concern. So with that being said, I'm more than happy to make the motion and, take staff's advice.
Yeah, do you think second meeting in May is possible, or is that too tight, do you think?
Yeah, Mayor, we do want to keep this running, right, and get it adopted. I just don't know the availability of the other groups. So there's really 3 groups, I think, that have been identified locally. One is the Japanese Cultural Festival. The second is the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, and third is Millbrae Cultural Committee. So those would be the 3 groups.
And I think the Lions Club, right? For
The Lions and the
Oh,
Rotary.
Yeah, Lions and Rotary.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to reach out to them as well.
Yeah. I think maybe we should aim for May 26th, and if we're getting close to that and we need a little more time, we could always push it to another meeting, but maybe that'd be the motion, continue to, okay. I'll make a motion to continue this item to May 26th and ask staff to do a little bit more research and outreach to the community groups that put on these events.
Yeah, Mayor, and thank you for a little bit of that flexibility, because we don't know what the availability.
And yeah, if we're, as we're getting close to that deadline, if we need to, we could always postpone it.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and now for a vote.
Motion to continue item to May 26th passes by 3.
Okay, thank you, and thank you to everyone who came to speak on this item tonight. I think it was really good feedback that we had, and I think very important to help inform the ultimate policy here. Okay, next is item 11, City of Millbrae Event Sponsorship Package, also a study session as well. And we have, again, Recreation Director Moran to give the presentation.
I didn't even bother to sit down. And guess what? It's still a study session, and it's still about events, just a different one. So thank you for sticking with us tonight. So this is the Millbrae Event Sponsorship Package study session. And just to give a little bit of background on this, we already talked about this a bit in the policies tonight. Under city planned events, but the City of Millbrae and the Millbrae Recreation Department do plan a wide range of community events and programs. Again, I can keep giving the examples of Beats, Brews, and Vines, July 4th, our senior programming, our art show, and you'll see more of these examples as we go through. But these events and programs do promote community engagement and the overall quality of life for our residents. Over time, there have been businesses and individuals and for-profit, nonprofit, who have expressed interest in sponsoring city events, giving contributions actually to the city for these events. This would support programs in a financially sustainable manner, and to do that, the city has explored formalizing a sponsorship package, and that's why we're here tonight. The proposed event sponsorship package creates a clear and transparent framework for sponsorships. And again, just to give a little bit of a definition, sponsorships are defined as financial contributions in exchange for limited recognition, such as logo placement, event acknowledgement, and participation opportunities. Next slide. So again, let's talk a little bit about the purpose of this study session. It's important to make a distinction between sponsorships and donations. So sponsorships differ from donations because donations are given without expectation of a benefit in return. But often when we get approached, businesses and individuals have expressed interest in sponsoring city events and then are asking for exchange of recognition in return. So we would like to, and the city hopes to clearly define the benefits sponsors receive, so sponsorship requests and expectations do not become excessive or unmanageable. And this would also ensure that all sponsors are treated equally and in a transparent and consistent manner. The proposed sponsorship package does establish clear limits to prevent undue influence or additional expectations from sponsors in regards to city events. So again, tonight we are hoping that council reviews the proposed City of Millbrae event sponsorship package, and we can discuss it and discuss sort of the implementation and approach. And we are also looking for direction to city staff. Next slide. So it might seem obvious, but why a sponsorship package? So again, people and entities have approached us in the city about this, and that's why we're bringing this forward. But we do want to say it would help offset costs of city events and programs. And that is helpful because we do know that these do cost money to put on, right? But it also creates a consistent and transparent sponsorship opportunity. And again, we can't emphasize enough how it would support us financially. And we talked about this a little bit, but it's important to have fair and equitable standards for all sponsors. So again, nobody has expectations or is getting different treatment than another sponsor. Next slide. So the events we are proposing to currently be included in the sponsorship opportunities include our Beats, Brews, and Vines concerts, our 4th of July celebration at Central Park, our Millbrae Goes to the Movies, the ones that take place outdoors specifically, opportunities for a monthly senior luncheon, or cultural arts events, which again is through the committees and commissions, and they do have a approved budget, but of course to expand on their programs, they would love some more. And then we also, the Recreation Department would like to start a Community Photos Day. We'll talk about that a little bit more and what that would need. But of course, additional future community programming could be included at a future date. Let's go to the next slide. So you can see this is just a visual of the sponsorship package. I hope you were able to review that in your council agenda. One of my favorite pictures I've ever taken in Millbrae is right there on the screen. People enjoying Beats, Brews, and Vines downtown. But the package, when it's given to sponsors, we'll talk about the audience to expect, as well as how many people to expect at these events, and that will help support their desire to sponsor our programs. Next slide. And so the proposed sponsorship package does have tiered levels. So hopefully that helps support different sizes of businesses and people who want to sponsor in different amounts. These would include something like a presenting sponsor, or a launch sponsor, which would be one of our higher packages, supporting sponsors, exhibitor sponsors, and nonprofit exhibitor sponsors. Benefits may include logo recognition, booth space announcements, and logo webpage placement. Next slide. And of course, you might be wondering, how did you get these prices? So we did review the actual event production cost to see what amount would actually make a big impact on these different events. We also thought about staff time for administration and coordination of the sponsorships, because that does take some time. And then also anything that would cost, such as marketing materials. Imagine us, putting sponsors on a banner for our Beats, Brews, and Vines stage, right? There is some cost to creating those banners. So that was part of the analysis. And then we also did look at other cities and their sponsorship package and compare with similar cities and agencies. Next slide. Similar to the previous agenda item, it's important to have guardrails, right? Sponsors receive recognition, but these are city events. So even if they're receiving recognition, they're not in control of the city events. All events would remain city operated and directed. Sponsorships do not replace permits, rentals, or vendor fees. Food vendors are not the same as sponsorships. So that's an important note. And of course, the city needs to maintain the right to decline sponsorships that create any legal, financial, or reputational risk. Next slide. This is just another example of a program you saw previously, Beats, Brews, and Vines, our 4th of July celebration. And we do often get approached about people sponsoring our movie nights in the park. So that's another example of a program that could be sponsored. Next slide. Our Millbrae Senior Luncheon, you'll be amazed how many people want to support this luncheon. And so we wanted to create a way that's fair and equitable and ensure that anybody who supports it knows what recognition they would get in exchange. Next slide. I mentioned our Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. Again, these are approved in their current work plan. If their work plan ever changes, of course, we'd remove these from the sponsorship package. But we know our volunteers work very hard, and they have done some amazing events. Go ahead to the next slide, actually. One of those, again, is the Millbrae Art Show, which is coming up on May 9th. And with additional sponsorships, they could expand the program. Part of it could be buying items that are evergreen. Let's say one year they get a $2,000 sponsorship buying items that could last from year to year, just in case sponsorships don't always continue. But I know, again, a lot of our volunteers that put on the events would love to expand it further and have looked for ways in the past where ways for people to sponsor. Next slide. I wanted to point this one out. Again, this is a new event that the Recreation Department really wants to utilize. And this is one of those that we are looking for what we would call a launch sponsor, somebody to help us get this off the ground and started. This proposed event that we have in the sponsor package would essentially only be able to happen with sponsorships currently. What we are proposing here in this package is a Millbrae Community Photos Day. It would be a day around November where there would be lots of options for both paid and free family photos, just in time for the holidays. So one that we want to bring forward and we would look for sponsorships for. Next slide. And so tonight, we are just looking for council to review the initial draft of the City of Millbrae event sponsorship package, discuss, provide direction to staff, And then with the direction from the city council, staff can return to city council with a standardized sponsorship agreement and/or a sponsorship package policy. So that is my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. Any comments or questions from the council at this time? Okay. Yeah, we can go to public comment in a moment. Yeah, I'm just curious because you mentioned that you had looked at other cities and sponsorships that they've done. I mean, have they been successful at?
Yeah, thank you for that.
And how do they go about soliciting sponsorships?
Yeah, so quite honestly, a lot of times the city gets approached. The Millbrae Recreation Department, we've been approached often by different entities. It becomes complicated to just say yes. If it's a donation, great, because there's no expectation of returns. But when somebody comes in and they say, we want to sponsor, and you say, oh, that sounds good. I'm being very frank and honest right now, just real life situations. But if somebody comes in and they say, oh, we want to sponsor, like, great, we would love to have more financial resources for this event. And then they say, we need 5 tables and 5 canopies in order to sponsor at this event, right? Maybe a slight exaggeration, but it's a little more common than you think. So what's hard about that is receiving sponsorships and people making up their own expectations of what we would give them in return. So many cities have adopted this because of that, to just really set the expectations to ensure, again, fairness, that one person sponsoring and another person would get the same treatment. And so when it comes to other cities, I have looked at other packages, and the other thing I've done is spoken specifically to recreation directors on the Peninsula. And it's not that we always get sponsorships for every event, and it's not always that they're going out and soliciting, but what has been discussed in these meetings is making sure that the amount you're requesting does have a big enough impact for what you need for your event, as well as the staff time to support what you are giving back. A sponsorship is not just supposed to be a buy-in to be in an event. It's supposed to really help support the event and make it move forward. And that's sort of the sentiment with other directors. Again, one thing that came across clearly is to ensure that you're quote unquote requesting enough to make an impact for the time spent. And that's a lot of the feedback that has come through.
Okay. And would we need to use some type of a fiscal agent to accept the donations, or can the city do it? Because I remember, for example, during the Recreation Center campaign, I think we used the Millbrae Community Foundation to accept donations on our behalf.
Yeah, Ms. Mayor, that was for tax purposes that allowed the donor to write off the contribution on their taxes. If somebody donates to the city or is a sponsor, it's not tax deductible. So that was the reason why we went through MCF during the collection of donations for the Recreation Center.
I mean, do you think that would be a benefit to potential sponsors for these events if they were able to write it off? Or I guess if they were to do that, they wouldn't really be able to put their name out there.
Yeah, I think it adds a layer of complexity that
It's not worth it.
it's not worth it. Okay, thank you, Anna.
Sorry, just when speaking with other directors, again, this is for people who want to sponsor cities directly, and it is going to be very important for us to clarify with them. This is not a tax write-off. If that's something they're looking for, they should do a different avenue, a different entity. As Tom mentioned, it does add a layer of complexity, and we would essentially almost have to double our sponsorship package prices to have the admin time to help with that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope this is something that can be successful to help reduce, offset the costs for these events. Vice Mayor Rinaldi? Yeah.
Thanks for your comments, Mayor Hullaber. They're real helpful. City staff, thank you for the report. Really thorough. Just a couple quick questions and then a concern. First question is, how has the city been managing any of these sponsorships or joint events that they're doing? Like, what's the process? Can you walk me through it? Are we vetting these people out, or how does that happen today?
Yeah, actually, that's why I wanted to bring this forward. We have had people request, in my time here, we only really accepted sponsorships for one event, and we did actually, that time we did have an agreement with a fiscal partner. It was actually MCF again, toward one of our Juneteenth events. We did set that up. But otherwise, it's been difficult to accept these sponsorships because there's an expectation of in return, and we didn't have a policy for that. Donations, we have accepted freely because there is no expectation of something in return. But it has been, at least since I've been around the recreation department, it has been difficult to accept sponsorships because, you know, those expectations could be very varied and wide.
Yeah, Council, and to answer your question, we have not accepted them.
Yeah.
As a result, so.
Exactly. So donations, we've had some, but not sponsorships.
So this is going to lead me to my concern, which is something that we've dealt with a couple times already over the last year, which, quite frankly, our IP, our intellectual property, our brand, our logo are very important to Millbrae. It's our reputation. And when people use our IP, our logo, without our consent, that is problematic. So how are we going to police those communications if we're taking sponsorships? And more importantly, how are we going to vet these people out to make sure we're partnering with the right people?
Yeah, a really great point. So I think there's two different things. One is this is people sponsoring our events versus people requesting that the city is a sponsor for their events. So when people ask us to sponsor their events, and then they think as a sponsor, the city's a sponsor, they can use our logo. So we've shut that down. So this is the opposite. This is people coming to us and saying, hey, I would like to sponsor Beats and Brews. And, you know, as Hannah in her presentation said, okay, what does that mean? Now we have a laundry list of things that this is what you receive. So we do not allow people to use our logo unless the city council makes the decision to be a co-partner or co-sponsor for an event. And we always bring that to the city council.
So just for clarification, City Manager Williams, if someone sponsors an event and they're going to go out and do their own communication about said event, they're not allowed to put our logo on that communication unless the city council gives blessing to do so.
That is correct.
100% correct, yes. And that would not actually be part of this. Like, that wouldn't, if they're sponsoring us, we wouldn't bring to city council, hey, please let them use our logo. We are using their logo, and they shouldn't be creating their own communications. They should be using, and we can, again, with the agreement, because this will require either an agreement or a policy. I would, again, suggest an agreement where it's signed. So with that agreement, that would be in there. They would, if they wanted to help promote the event, they should be using the approved marketing packages.
And I'll go say, we do vet those organizations or individuals. So for example, well, I don't want to bring it up. I can bring it up offline, but we have come into situations that we've been pursuing and then found that, yes, we don't want to, you know, be associated or legally because the entity, you know, is political in nature or whatever the situation is when we do our due diligence and we do our vetting. So it's not like we're opening the door for some organization that we're not familiar with or that we haven't properly reviewed. You know, to your point, our reputation. And as a government agency, it's very important. We want to know who we're partnering with.
So just to be clear, setting expectations of what we're getting or expected to provide given the sponsorship. And then also setting expectations for the vetting process. So as we try to streamline this, we're making sure that the city's covered and, okay, got it.
Yeah, that is correct.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to public comment now, and we'll begin in person with Ken Smith.
Again, thank you, council members and staff, for all the hard work do. This is Ken Smith from Millbrae, 20. So anyway, I really like the idea of the sponsorships and really great job putting a policy together with it. I just want to, one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about the sponsorship is that company sponsors an event for the city or whatever. I don't think a price line item is the way it should go. I think that it should be like 70% of the cost of the event, or maybe 50, but it should be based on individual events versus a standard menu of prices. If they want their name of their company up front and large, then they need to pay for it, and that will definitely help offset the cost of the event. So again, just donating a few $1,000 or not donating, but sponsoring a few $1,000 when it's a $10,000 event, they need to really pay their share to get their name on there. Then the other thing too is that it's sponsorship versus advertising. An example is advertising in our bi-weekly magazine or letter that we have. We can sell space in that too. If a company really wants to get their name out there, if a local business in Millbrae wants to get their name out there, they can buy advertising, and that can be standardized, size and space. And so that's a different way to do it. But again, my thought process is don't put a menu of pricing down for sponsorship. Make sure it's covering at least 50, but if not, 75% of the cost. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other in-person speaker slips, we will go back to Zoom. And Ann Schneider is the next speaker.
Thank you, Mayor, staff, and council. Question. Hannah, you showed the MCAC art show, and I don't think this is what you were intended with your sponsorship, but San Bruno just had an article in the Daily Journal where their art group collected $10,000 for a mural downtown. If a group, let's say Culture Arts, gets their public mural program going and they want to accept money for art, would this particular policy handle that type of donation?
You can go ahead, Mary, and then we'll address the public comment.
If you could finish
Sorry,
up your
let me
comments.
say my other part. That was my main question on that. But the other one was, and I'm sorry, staff, but as a former liaison to Culture Arts, in the last year, it seems to be a jinx. Culture Arts has an event, and the city puts another event on top of it. So the art show last year in the bike rodeo, the Dia de los Muertos in the state of the city, and then next week, art show. I'm very much looking forward to the mayor's listening session, but they're always on the same date as the art show. I should have said it in the previous thing with special events. What makes special events tough is in September, it's hellacious. The city has an event every weekend. But when we're putting events on top of each other, that's hurting our groups, our volunteers who are putting these events together. So I hope along with all of this, we stop piling things on top of each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, former Mayor Schneider, for letting me know about my listening event coming up. Okay, if we could, I'm sorry. Sorry, did you want to speak? If you could fill out a speaker slip, please.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I put it on my other speaker's slip.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
both
must
items.
have
Yeah.
handed it over, but okay. Yes, Ms. Fogarty.
My question has to do with a program that's been pretty successful where the Rotary Club has partnered with the city to put on a golf tournament. And we have developed sponsors, some from city contacts, some from our own Rotary Club contacts. And eventually, what happens with the funds that we raise is we split those funds with the city, and the city uses their half to support scholarships. We used to call them camperships, but scholarships for kids for summer programs. And Rotary uses its funds also for programs for our children in Millbrae. It's been very successful. So my question, I guess, is, does this sponsorship package cover that? Should there be something in this sponsorship program to speak to partnerships between the city and other groups? Because we're going to, if we're going to continue this, which I hope we are, because it's been so successful, that there be something that speaks to the partnership between the service organization and the city and how we deal with sponsorships for that. But just ask if that could be looked at, and maybe a conversation with Rotary, and I don't know if Lions does something similar, but obviously something for service organizations that partner together with the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we took note of the speaker slip. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Maybe Ms. Moran, if you could respond to the public comments.
And I can weigh in here also to take the last speakers. So the Mayor's Cup is an outlier, and we do have a couple of outliers, so this does not apply to that event. The Lions Golf Tournament is completely separate. There's no participation by the city in that event. And then to address Ms. Schneider's comment, there's a difference between events and projects, right? And so this is an event sponsorship. I think what she was talking about were more projects, such as the recreation center. It could be large, could be small. And that is also a different process. So this only addresses those event sponsorships. As Hannah said, people come to recreation, they would like to sponsor, and what do we do? So without just rejecting them, we wanted to put this laundry list together that says this is what you get. And then I also think to Mr. Smith's comment, we've analyzed this in detail. And so if we were to do it as a percentage of the event cost, the expectation of the sponsor would become a little bit hard to manage. As the more they sponsor, the more expectation they have of controlling the event. And so this actually lists based on the level of sponsorship is very clear. If somebody approaches recreation or the city, we would like to sponsor, here's our program. Here's the amount, here's exactly what you get. And, because as you could imagine, as we're dealing, with these organizations, the expectation just gets higher and higher. And I think, Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, with all the experience that you've had, that may not be conducive. People may not want to do that. And if they do, then, like I said, that's where, we want to use the city logo. We want to advertise. We want free advertising on your electronic billboard on Highway 101. It becomes really unmanageable. So that's kind of why we've capped it.
Yeah, it could feel more like ownership to them, and it needs to be very clear that these are city-run events, and you get a logo, you get what we are telling you you receive. Otherwise, again, unmanageable. And then
not our logo, their logo.
yes, their logo. You don't get our logo, we get yours. And then, if I may, exactly what the city manager said for the comment from community member Schneider. And then on top of that, with the Rotary, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but currently that's the only type of partnership we have. So again, a little bit of an outlier. That being said, we have worked very hard with our golf tournament, and my intention would be that when we have a sponsorship package, if the golf tournament package is also available at the time, the people approaching the city would be receiving both. So because there is a golf tournament sponsorship, so yeah, so just, yeah.
So I think that's something we need to go back, because that is a total outlier.
Yeah, it is an
so
outlier.
with this and these comments, we'll go back and Because we have a separate agreement with the Rotary on that.
Yeah.
That the city council approved. So we can go tweak that.
Correct.
Talk to the Rotary Club. We want to make sure, because it is so successful, and by no means are we saying this is going to replace that sponsorship. So people that sponsor the golf tournament, this doesn't apply.
Yeah, this is separate from that. Mhm.
So in terms of, and this also is agendized as a study session. So I don't know what other feedback you need from us, or what kind of outstanding topics
Yeah.
there are to look into.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, I'm trying to think back with our conversation if there was any, I know we want to make sure there's some clarity in the agreement and the policy as to ensure that anybody sponsoring us is not using our logo, et cetera. And again, we can definitely add that in the policy or agreement when we come back. Was there any additional direction from City Council?
Mayor, there is one other, thing that we should mention, and it relates to our partnership with the Daily Journal. And so in terms of their sponsorship to the city, it's not a payment to the city, but it's an in lieu contribution. So the value is they provide the city with a certain amount of free advertising. And so I don't know if there's any interest in, looking more at in lieu contributions that the city could benefit from instead of just a cash donation. And the example would be what we receive in partnership with the Daily Journal, which works out great.
Yeah, and through the mayor, city manager, we included that type of sponsorship in the earlier agenda item as part of the event policy, the special event policies.
But if I'm just thinking if somebody, and this is where we can go out and seek a little bit more feedback from the local, both the private sector as well as the nonprofit community, get a little bit more information in terms of expectations, since we've now brought this to the city council and hone in on that. Yep.
That sounds good. Yeah, Vice Mayor Rinaldi.
Thanks, Mayor Holbert. Just want to make a few recommendations for direction to staff, if council's okay with that. Number one, make the vetting process crystal clear, because we'll definitely hear about equity and making sure everyone's treated the same. Want to do that. Also, good standing, making sure these relationships stay in good standing. Clear expectations as to what the sponsorship provides, so that way, we're not committing to a sponsorship and having to provide more than what was expected. Marketing material packet, I think that's a great idea, Hannah. And then last but not least, have staff go back and look at these outliers. So that way we button any kind of loose ends up and have something that's a little bit more solidified for review.
Sounds good. Any other comments, Councilmember Riley? Okay.
So I'll make a motion for that.
Yes, and would we like to set a date certain to continue the item?
I think the same date we can bring this back together.
Okay.
Even though they're separate items, a little bit.
So May, was it May 26th?
Motion that.
Okay.
Second.
All right. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Rinaldi and a second from Councilmember Riley. And for the vote.
Motion to continue item number 11 to May 26th passes by 3.
Thank you very much. We will now go to council comments. And let's start with Councilmember Riley.
Hi. I went to Santa Rosa for San Mateo progress seminar for 57 seminar. And it was my second time. And I learned a lot from AI and also transportation in our Millbrae. and I met all our council members there. So I was there from the beginning until end. I learned many things. Thank you so much for city staff and set up this for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Rinaldi?
Yeah, it's been a busy 2 weeks. Good to see everyone back again. So just hit on a couple of the highlights. Had the privilege of attending the Memorial for Officer Chakouti, and just want to second what City Manager Williams said, just a testament to this community and its resiliency and how indebted we are to the Chakouti family and Officer Chakouti for his life of service. Second, I got to attend Arbor Day with a couple former mayors as well as our current mayor, and got to see my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Althouse. I don't know if you, did you have Miss Althouse too? She was there.
We didn't see her there.
She's, okay, well.
I probably wouldn't recognize her if I saw her today, but.
We got to see our fourth grade teacher. It was great. Circle is now full. Also got to attend the Historical Society's viewing of the 16 Mile House. If anyone hasn't attended any of the Historical Society events, highly recommend them. Very educational, and also gives us our roots of where we're from and the significance of all the landmarks around here in Millbrae. Also was elected to be the chair of SFO Roundtable, so had a couple meetings in regards to that. It's really exciting stuff. And then last but not least, I got to attend yesterday night's parking study session and get feedback from all the residents, and just wanted to thank them for all the feedback they provided. It's a long-term project. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more sessions that go along. And then last but not least, thank everyone that publicly commented tonight, and fellow council and city staff. We got through another one, so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, I attended the commute.org meeting. That was, I think, about 2 weeks ago. There was an update from Caltrain about how they've been recovering, from the lows of the pandemic. They're still not nearly where they need to be, but doing a lot of work to try to, promote Caltrain ridership for special events, sporting events, things like that, as well as going over some of the potential, service cuts that would be needed if they do not get additional funding later this year through a potential ballot measure. Let's see. Oh, I attended the Sister Cities Commission meeting last night. I'm sorry I didn't bring it, but Chair Kimura received a very beautiful book there was a visit from the governor of Coquimbo region in Chile, which is the region where our sister city of La Serena is located. I think this was a visit at the Chilean consulate in San Francisco, and they provided a very nice book about Chilean pisco, which is a liquor that's like a distilled grape beverage. Very nice book. Maybe we can put it in the display case along with the book that we received at the last meeting from Malta. We also, as the city manager mentioned earlier, the Sister Cities Commission is hosting a film screening on May 14th, Thursday evening, 6:30 p.m. at the Rec Center. It's called Evergreen Abundance, about the edible forests of Chile. And I believe it's in Spanish with English subtitles. That should be very interesting. I believe the Consul General will be attending that as well. And at the meeting, they also discussed a potential friendship city in Taichung, Taiwan. I think they had voted to recommend that back to the council. That had come to the council last year. And I think still looking for council action on that. I think they went back to the commission though to determine, is it the full city of Taichung, which I think is a couple million people, or a smaller smaller district of Taichung. That would be the potential friendship, city with Millbrae. So I think I know there are members of the commission that have contacts over there, and they will bring that recommendation back to us. But it sounds like they're very eager in Taichung to pursue this friendship city relationship. And then lastly, some of you may know, the city of Millbrae has an adopted military unit of the 101st Airborne Division. This is something that I think former council member Wayne Lee had helped to spearhead that probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And there are a number of other cities in San Mateo County, San Mateo being the original one. There was a very long partnered military unit, also with 101st Airborne, that I think started around the time of the Vietnam War. I believe there was a San Mateo resident who died, was killed in action during Vietnam, and that helped to foster this relationship that the city had. And other cities, I think Burlingame, Hillsborough, others in San Mateo County have also adopted military units. We just received a request from San Mateo Police Chief Barberini to make a contribution. There is an event coming up in May at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and they were looking for a contribution for the city to sponsor some members of the unit to attend. And I believe we made a donation, $1,200 to sponsor 20 tickets. The city manager and I discussed offline.
That is correct, Mayor.
So hopefully that will be an enjoyable event for everyone who attends. And with that, I think we will adjourn.
Mayor, if I may, one point of clarification. So with the community member Ann Schneider mentioning coffee with the mayor and coffee with the chief on May 9th.
Yes.
She got ahead of us a little bit. We haven't sent the flyer out.
Yeah, I didn't know that was confirmed. I know there was.
Confirm it with you and the flyer. Somehow it did get posted on our public calendar accidentally, but so May 9th is something that we're working on and scheduling. So if once you approve the flyer, we will get that out. So I apologize for.
So keep an eye out for that.
Getting ahead of that, but
potentially May 9th.
yeah, and address that. We have actually found to her point that sometimes actually city events working on the same day are a benefit. People can come have coffee with the mayor and the chief, and then go to the recreation center. So they're kind of committed to those things, and there's obviously.
Hopefully, at least they're not completely,
They're not, yeah.
Yeah, at least there's some overlap and not completely at the same time, start and end time. Okay.
So anyway, apologize for.
Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so with that, we will adjourn to the next regular meeting, I believe is May 12th. See you there. Have a good evening, everyone.